I want to begin with you by sharing a simple truth we often overlook. Every word you speak to yourself in the morning becomes the colored lens through which you see the world for the rest of the day. You open your eyes, and everything may seem normal, but in that very moment, your mind has already begun to listen. It listens not only to the words, but to the tone, the energy, the sincerity, or the falsehood you plant into yourself. And that is no small thing, because those initial words are the seeds sown into the field of your consciousness, seeds that will bloom into emotions, behaviors, and outcomes throughout the next 16 hours of your life. The problem is, most people are unaware of this. They wake up, reach for their phones, scroll through endless notifications, check emails, browse social media, and allow the noise of the outside world to flood into their minds before they even have the chance to hear their own voice. And you know what that leads to? They don't start the day with power. They start it with reaction. They let the world define who they are, what they think, what they feel, before they have even had the chance to choose for themselves. That is not living. That is surrendering. But you are different. You didn't come here to live a life dictated by the chaotic currents of the world. You came here to remember that just one sentence you choose in the morning can become an anchor, a compass, a starting point that directs you into a day of presence. The words you speak to yourself right after waking are not mere cliches. They are rituals, declarations, intentional acts of bringing yourself back to who you truly are, unshaken by expectations, pressure, or the noise of the world. When you tell yourself, I am strong, even while you're tired, your mind begins to search for that strength within. When you say, I choose peace today, your actions start aligning with that choice, quietly but powerfully. There is a truth most people never realize. The mind does not resist repetition. It obeys it. Whatever you say to yourself enough times, your brain will eventually believe it to be true. And if you keep repeating words of self-criticism, self-doubt, comparison, or fear of failure, those words will become the internal operating system that governs everything you think, do, and feel. But that also means you can reverse that process. You can rewrite that operating program. You can plant into your mind new commands filled with love, strength, and clarity from the very start of your day. When your morning words are constructive, intentional, and empowering, they become a shield protecting you from unnecessary distractions, unconscious emotional reactions, and the negative energy of others that doesn't serve your growth. And the beautiful part is, you don't have to feel perfect to begin. You just need to choose the right words to say to yourself. Not to pretend that everything is okay, but to choose how you want to build your inner world before the outer world tries to shape it for you. A simple, I am capable, is not just a motivational phrase. It is a trigger, an internal command sent to your subconscious, the part of you that doesn't argue, doesn't analyze right or wrong like your conscious mind, but simply receives what you repeat and builds your reality based on that. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, or I always mess things up, your subconscious will accept that as truth. It will search for evidence to support it. It will color every experience and opportunity you encounter with a lens of limitation. But if each morning you say, I am calm, I am in control of my emotions, I have everything I need to succeed, then after enough repetition, your subconscious will begin to operate as if that were your true foundation. Your behavior will change. Your perception of the world will shift. Confidence will grow, not because the world outside changed, but because the conversation within you transformed. The morning is the most precious time to plant those commands into your mind. Why? Because in the first few minutes after you wake up, your brain is in an extremely receptive state. Conscious thought hasn't fully taken over. The chaotic streams of thinking haven't yet arrived. In that moment, every word you say carries deeper weight, sinks deeper, and leaves a stronger imprint on the structure of your mind. Imagine this, your mind is like a sponge. It will absorb whatever you soak it in. If you let it soak in worry, judgment, or negativity, then you'll carry those vibrations with you all day long. But if you soak it in peace, gratitude, and inner strength, then you will radiate those qualities effortlessly throughout the day. And you don't need to say dozens of affirmations each morning. Just one right sentence repeated with presence and emotion is enough to open up a completely different kind of day. Not because the sentence is magical, but because you've chosen the right spiritual weapon to begin your journey. So, my friend, don't rush to grab your phone the moment you open your eyes. Don't let the world tell you who you are. Be the first to speak. Be the one to shape that day. Speak words that nourish your soul. And you will see it's not the weather, not your job, not other people, but you and only you who designs the life you live each day. And tomorrow, when you open your eyes again, remember, everything begins with a word. And that word, you can choose it starting right now. There is something most people have never truly understood. The mind does not resist repetition, it submits to it. It doesn't question whether what you say is true or not. It doesn't ask for proof or demand logical reasoning. It simply remembers and then begins to act as if what you've told it is an undeniable fact. When you tell yourself, I always fail, and repeat it enough times, your mind doesn't look back at the successes you've had. It only sees failure as a destiny already written. But if you say, I'm learning and growing stronger every day, then that very sentence, when sown consistently, becomes an underground stream silently nourishing belief and shaping resilience. What's important is that your mind doesn't wait for emotion to start believing. It waits for repetition, whether or not you feel confident. If you keep feeding it affirmations of self-worth, over time, it will adjust how you see yourself, how you respond to challenges, and how you act in the face of adversity. Repetition isn't empty. It's a reprogramming process. Imagine you are rewriting the code inside the operating system of your psyche. Each phrase you repeat is a new command line. And the miraculous part is, those commands don't just change the way you think, they change the way you live. So if every morning you take just a few minutes to repeat, I am worthy, I am strong enough, I choose to act, you are not deceiving yourself, you are retraining your mind to see the world through a new lens. And if you stay consistent, you will see what you repeat today becomes your nature tomorrow. Some people think that saying positive things to yourself each morning is a form of pretending, of denying reality. But I'm telling you, it's not pretending, it's a choice to build the inner world you want before the outer world imposes a different version on you. You don't have to pretend that there are no struggles, no worries, or that everything is perfect. You only need the courage to say, I will not let fear shape me. I will not let the chaos outside break the stillness within. Every phrase you speak to yourself is not a denial of reality, but a deliberate act of designing an inner state that can face that reality with presence and peace. The external world may be full of things you cannot control, pressure, judgment, failure, but the internal world within you can be led by intention, by conscious choice each morning. Repeating a positive phrase doesn't make you a dreamer. On the contrary, it makes you a leader, not of others, but of yourself. Because the one who cannot lead their inner dialogue will sooner or later be led by the noise of others. You cannot wait for a perfect world to feel at peace, but you can begin your day with a statement that directs you toward inner peace. It's a subtle yet powerful act, not to cover up fear, but to remind you you are stronger than that fear. And you have the right to choose which voice will speak first, doubt or belief. Your inner world does not have to be a reaction, it can be a creation. And it begins with one simple, sincere sentence, one powerful enough to change the way you step into your day. You cannot wait for a perfect world to feel at peace, but you can begin your day with a statement that directs you toward inner peace. It's a subtle yet powerful act, not to cover up fear, but to remind you you are stronger than that fear. And you have the right to choose which voice will speak first, doubt or belief. Your inner world does not have to be a reaction. It can be a creation. And it begins with one simple, sincere sentence, one powerful enough to change the way you step into your day. You may believe that your thoughts are the result of reason, but the truth is most of your emotions and behaviors stem from a deeper place, the subconscious. And what's remarkable is that the subconscious does not distinguish right from wrong. It doesn't verify facts. It doesn't ask for evidence. It doesn't need proof. It simply listens, records, and repeats. If you tell yourself often enough, I'm useless, the subconscious won't argue. It will accept that statement as a directive, and from there, it will begin to search for, magnify, and even distort reality to confirm that belief. Conversely, if you say, I am adaptable, I am always learning, the subconscious will receive that too and begin constructing a reality aligned with that belief. It will guide you toward decisions, actions, and opportunities that reinforce what you've planted in it. That's how it amplifies, not through logic, but through the depth of repetition and the emotion you attach to each statement. It does not detect sarcasm, does not understand just kidding, and does not automatically dismiss the lies you say to yourself. It doesn't know you're just blowing off steam when you complain about yourself to it. Every word you speak is a truth to be recorded and multiplied, and because of that, what you choose to repeat becomes critically important. What seeds are you feeding it? Procrastination or initiative, fear or courage, self-doubt or unwavering belief? The subconscious is fertile soil. It does not distinguish between flowers and weeds. It simply does one thing. It makes everything you plant flourish. Therefore, you must become a conscious gardener. Choose every word you say each morning with care, because the very sentence you repeat today could become the vivid reality you live tomorrow. There is a precious moment in each day that most people miss. The first few minutes after you wake up. When the first light has yet to break through the curtains, when the world is still quiet and hasn't yet swept you into its momentum, that is when your mind is at its most open, most receptive, and most easily influenced. This is the brain's golden state, when your consciousness is still gentle, not yet filled with tasks, news, or concerns. And it's also the perfect moment to plant powerful messages into your mind, statements capable of going straight into the subconscious and beginning to rewrite the architecture of your beliefs. You don't need much, just a few sentences, a few deep breaths, a few intentional choices, enough to reprogram your mind for a day lived with presence and power. But the key is that you must choose deliberately. If you let that moment pass unconsciously by rushing to check your phone, scroll through social media, or sigh while staring at the clock, you are surrendering the programming of your mind to the outside world. And you already know where that leads. You live in reaction instead of shaping your own emotions and direction with intent. So treasure the morning like a gift. Don't treat it as a routine you must get through before work or the start of your responsibilities. See it as the spiritual opening ceremony for the day ahead. When you say to yourself, I am calm, I am present, I lead, those words don't disappear into thin air. They soak into every thought pattern, every heartbeat, every decision you'll make thereafter. Remember, you don't need to feel perfect to begin a powerful day. You just need to seize the right moment. And morning is when you can reprogram everything, not through forced effort, but through presence and a few gentle whispers directed toward your soul. There is a voice that has always lived within you, sometimes whispering, sometimes shouting, but always present. It is the inner critic. What makes it dangerous is not its volume, but its familiarity. It doesn't arrive with warning bells or caution signs. It comes in a voice that sounds exactly like yours. It says, I'm not good enough. I'll fail again. People will see I'm not worthy. And you, in your most vulnerable moments, believe it to be the truth. But do you know something? That is not you. That is the voice of fear wearing the mask of reason. It wears the cloak of logic, calls itself truth, reality, or prudence, but in fact, it is merely the echo of old worries that have been repeated too many times without being questioned. The more silent you are, the louder it gets. The more you shrink, the more it advances. And the greatest danger is this: you often allow it to speak before you've had the chance to say anything kind to yourself. In the first moments of the day, when you are still tender and your mood has yet to be shaped, that inner critic whispers its judgments. Today will be exhausting again. Don't expect anything different. And if you remain silent, if you don't speak up, it will dictate your entire day from a place of defeat. That's why you must do something simple yet profoundly important. Speak first. Be the one to initiate the voice. Let the voice of trust, peace, and strength drown out the negative whisper. Because if you don't gain control of the voice within, all your external efforts will merely be temporary defenses. The real enemy is not someone else. It's the part of you that has allowed doubt to become the default. And you can change that, starting with a morning affirmation. I no longer live by fear. I choose to be guided by the strength of my inner self. In the silent dialogue between you and yourself, the one who speaks first always holds the advantage. If you don't actively say what is right, fear will speak up. If you don't plant a clear belief in your mind, doubt will sow confusion. And that is why you must be the one who speaks first. You don't need to wait until you feel confident to declare that you are strong. You don't need to feel ready in order to say, I am already enough. Powerful truth does not require emotional permission. It only needs your choice and your voice. Remember, what you say at the beginning of the day is not a fleeting comfort. It is a foundation, a direction, an inner compass that guides you through a day full of challenges. You don't speak to pretend or to mask weakness, but to remind your mind that no matter what happens out there, in here, within you, there is a truth that cannot be shaken. When you open your eyes and say, I am present, I am ready, I create my day, you are not merely reciting a positive phrase. You are reprogramming your emotions, your mindset, and even your reaction mechanisms. You are reclaiming the mental space that, if left empty, fear will surely fill. And powerful truth is not the denial of difficulty. It is the affirmation that no matter the difficulty, you will show up fully. It is the act of not waiting for life to ease up before you live wholeheartedly, but living wholeheartedly so that life becomes easier to breathe. You have the right to choose which voice will lead you, the anxious voice of old habits or the bold voice of awakened clarity. And that choice begins each morning with one sentence you say to yourself: clear, powerful, and full of truth. Every day you wake up, whether you realize it or not, you're stepping onto a battlefield. Not one with bullets or screams, but the quietest and most persistent battlefield there is. The battlefield of your mind. Arrows named expectation, pressure, judgment, procrastination, and inadequacy start flying from the moment the day begins. And the question is, what weapon are you bringing into that battlefield? You cannot walk in unarmed. A warrior never enters combat without sharpening their sword. And for you, that sword is the words you speak to yourself. Every morning phrase you utter: I am ready, I can face this, I will not back down, is not just encouragement. It is the act of drawing your sword, sharpening it with belief, with clarity, with inner strength. If you remain silent, if you allow your mind to be hijacked by negative news, others' criticism, or vague anxieties, then your sword begins to rust. And you know what happens when a warrior goes to war with a dull blade? They lose the strength to defend, the courage to stand firm when challenges strike. That's why your morning words matter so much. They are your preparation, your stance, the power you intentionally create before the world has a chance to knock you down. You don't have to shout or force anything, just one sentence, but it must come from a place of deep awareness. I am here, grounded, and I choose not to give up. Because on the battlefield of life, the strongest are not those without fear. They are the ones who sharpen their swords each morning with the words they quietly whisper to themselves. And when you maintain this ritual, you'll come to realize nothing out there can defeat you if within you have already risen. Life will always throw surprises your way, sometimes storms, sometimes quiet but unpredictable undercurrents. You can't control traffic, bad news, someone's attitude, or unexpected situations, but there is one thing you can always control: your inner world. And when your inner world is strong enough, circumstances lose their power over you. A person with inner strength doesn't have it because life is always easy. They have it because they know how to remain centered amidst adversity. They don't react impulsively, don't let other people's emotions dictate their own, and don't let one small disruption crash their entire inner system. They can do that because they've built a solid mental foundation from very simple things, starting with the words they say to themselves every morning. When you affirm, "I choose how I respond," you begin shifting from victim to leader. You don't get swept away by the chaos around you because inside you've established order. You don't need the world to be calm in order to feel peace. You just need a strong enough anchor within. And that anchor is built through the words and reminders you offer yourself. I am calm. I am steady. I do not let circumstances control my emotions. These phrases are like stakes that hold your boat steady in the middle of a stormy sea. No matter how high the waves or how fierce the winds, what matters is not the length or polish of the sentence, but the consistency. Are you willing to repeat it when no one is cheering, when you're tired, or when you're doubting yourself? Because those are the toughest workouts, but also when you grow the most. And then, just like anyone who's trained before knows, one day you'll realize you've changed. You react more calmly to hurt. You breathe more deeply in the face of stress. You maintain a calm gaze when the world begins to shake, not because everything suddenly got better, but because within you, strength was built to no longer need the world to change for you to stand firm. Don't underestimate a small sentence. Treat it like a mental push-up. And if you persist, each word you speak will become part of a resilient, flexible, unshakable inner body. In the end, you're not just speaking, you're training. Not just for today, but for a life of intention, depth, and power. We often wait for something to be just right before we allow ourselves to begin. A clear plan, a good mood, an ideal circumstance. But the truth is, if you wait until everything is perfect, you may never start at all. Life is always shifting, and absolute stability is only an illusion. The only thing you truly hold in your hands is the choice to begin again each morning. And that choice is where real strength is born. When you wake up after a long day of failure or a mistake, and you can still say to yourself, "Today I will start again," you are not weak. You are becoming stronger. You don't need perfection. You just need presence and the courage to choose. Again, the beauty is that you don't need to change the whole world. You only need to shift the way you speak to yourself in the first few minutes of the day. Simple sentences like, "I am still moving forward," "I have the right to correct my path," or "I am not who I was yesterday," are like small candles, reigniting your will in moments when you feel worn out. Every morning you have the right to re-choose your belief, recalibrate your attitude, and restart your journey. That is not weakness. It is the highest form of mental discipline, the courage to stay loyal to what is right, even when no one is watching, cheering, or affirming you. Look at those who are truly strong. They don't have better circumstances than you. They simply outlast difficulty by beginning again quietly each morning, no matter how yesterday ended. And it is that quiet consistency repeated daily that builds an unshakable inner strength. Don't wait for the perfect moment to change. Let every morning be the doorway you step through to live a better version of yourself, not loudly, not for display, but with unwavering presence. You might think that speaking positive words to yourself each morning is just a little dose of mental motivation, a fleeting spark of inspiration that comes and goes. But I'm telling you, this is not fleeting motivation. This is inner discipline. It is a form of quiet but profound training where you are teaching your mind to obey you instead of being ruled by the world. Motivation can come from outside, a great speech, a short-term success, someone you admire, But mental training is the process of working with yourself every day in silence, without the spotlight, without the glory. It's just you and the words you choose to speak. I am ready. I am capable. I own my reactions. These are not just sounds, they are signals. They are intentional repetitions that carve into your nervous system a new operating system. One where you are no longer dragged by emotions, but able to stand firm even in the most chaotic days. This is not a surface act to feel better momentarily. This is sustainable training to become strong from the inside out. A warrior does not go to battle on inspiration. They go with training, and so do you. Every morning is a training session for your spirit. And if you maintain that habit, even for just a few minutes each day, you are rewiring your entire response system, your awareness, your decision making. You don't need to shout, I can do this. You only need to whisper it consistently. I am moving forward one step every morning, because in the end, this is not a journey to feel better. This is the journey to master yourself. And once you do that, no circumstance can control you anymore. That is no longer motivation. That is freedom.